Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. Doing a really, it's kind of a group coaching session. I'm doing my homework here, and I want to show everyone how I go back through and do the homework so that I can be prepared during the trading day. Right. What I'm going to use is the high. Normally, we trade on these small time frames, but we lead with the high time frame. Right. So I'm going to explain what I mean by that and what setups I'm looking for. And I'm going to use the Nasdaq for the setup. And we're going to look at the NASDAQ and what particular trades I'm looking for when I go through it. So the way I do this is I start with basic ideas. So these are very big bars, just so you get an idea of how much these bars, quote unquote, cost. Right. So if you look at this bar down here this afternoon, the top of this bar is 13,303, and the bottom of that bar is 13,262. So this bar is essentially, let's just call it 40 points is the size of this bar, right? And they range from 40 to 50 points. Some of them are a little bit longer, like the one over here to the left goes 13,252 to 13,203. So let's just call, first of all, the max risk on any bar, let's call it 50 points. Okay, so if you're trading mini contracts, NQ mini contracts, that's $1,000 per contract. And if you're trading micros, it's $100 per contract. So the first thing that I want to do, we do a couple things in the room. So first of all, I'm looking primarily for bars, at least in the beginning, that are touching the outside of these channels is the first thing that I'm looking for, right? So, and then I want to kind of break it down very simply as to what worked and what did not work, right? And so first I would look within a day period, and then I would expand that concept out, right? Um, so let's get started. So if I look in the window of time where I would normally trade, what I want to see is the first thing I'm asking is, well, what worked? And what you'll notice, what worked overwhelmingly were the bars with the stars on them, right? One, two. This did not touch, so it doesn't count. One, two, and three. All of these obviously had a better than 2-to-1 RR. And here's an important thing to know. The majority of the time, 35 points keeps you in all of these trades to get the extension. For example, if you look this bar, let's erase this for a second. If you will look, this bar is 13,386.75, and the back of this bar is 13,434. So that's so it's 86. So let's just call it 15 plus 34, 50 points. But you'll see the worst that it came in against that trade prior to making the extension down was from 13,386 to 13,414. So let's just say 30 to 40 points keeps you in the trade the gross majority of the time. I don't know that I would tag it right to 30 points, but most of the research I've done and gone back has indicated that 30 points. So I'll add an extra 5 to 10 points just to keep me within the trade. And then when you look to the downside, so that means, let's say 40 points is your down target each time. So if we look here, so I'm going to be clear. If we look here on the down star, my entry, assuming no better entry was able to achieve, this goes from 13,369 to 13,323. So 69, 59, 49, 39, 29. This trade garners 40 points, which gives me a 1-to-1 risk reward on this trade. This trade went from 13,386. And hypothetically, if you held it all the way down, right, it went to 13,266. But realistically, we would have been looking to cover right in there. So 13,301. So 60 points, obviously giving you 1.5 on the RR. And the retrace on this again was from 86 back to 14. These are all during the U.S. session here. And then, so So guys, when y'all are doing your homework, right, the first thing that I want y'all to do is go look when you get these bars in general, right? Find out, well, how far do they extend, and then which ones extend better than the others. So there's two trades that I like to look at. So I'm interested when there's stars around these trades, and I'm interested when there's what we call trade and perform apex traps, right? So this is an apex trap right here. You can see the apex traps to me are the most valuable because they have the largest extensions, right? So those are the ones I really want to focus on no matter where they set up. Actually, I really want to try to grab these apex traps because I know large extensions come behind them. And you can see today, I do not believe there was a failure on an apex trap. I may be lying. Maybe this one right here. This was a failure right at 8:30. You would have gotten stopped, but if you came right back on it, you recovered your P&L and could have gone through the day. That's a hard time of day. That 7:43 to 8:30 time frame is a hard time of day to trade, right? And then I would add to it that if I was going to get more selective, do I have a star or do I have an apex trap? So in addition to that, right? So in addition to that, if I go look at my so when I'm focusing on where these apex traps are coming from, right? So you'll notice I'm not referencing a day time frame or am I anywhere else on the chart, right? Like, am I looking anywhere else on the chart? So what you'll see when I look at these bars is one thing that jumps out at me almost immediately. I notice is if I get a star up, excuse me, if I'm on the bottom side of the channel and I get a star down, right? And then I get that star stuffed, that a great deal of the time, that winds up sending me on a really big turn. So when I'm looking around, I'll notice stars down almost always get follow through. You remember, these are big bars, so they're going a long way, right? But again, even more interesting is when I get a star down into the bottom of the channel and that bar gets stuffed. Same thing on the upside. Star up, and the closer it is to that reversal bar, the better. So this bar gets stuffed, but the very next one makes a beautiful extension. This bar gives an apex trap, also has a star on it, beautiful extension. And then finally this apex trap that also has a star on it, and it gives this push to the upside. I'm looking for those trades, and it's not just recently where you go, oh, well, go do what I call the random test back, right? So this is in March. What if I ran the same series of tests? So this is March 22nd, right? And so the first thing I'm going to go see is the stars, and the stars in the direction that I want to trade in, right? So the TnP star algo prints, get a big stretch. Again, I'm just pulling these times randomly. I don't want a star on the second bar. I always want the star on the top bar. So first we're going to look at the traps or not the traps, right? And this was clearly a Fed day. So I only have one example, that star up and this star up, and they both led to really big extensions. I want to go, when I look at those stars, like I want to have a familiarity with what the price action looks like. So sometimes you'll get a star and there's no retrace. Sometimes you'll get a star and there's a deep retrace. So like in this case, like I want to go look. So I'm looking right over here, and I want to know two things, right? So how far did this bar retrace back in before it made this move? So I can look, right? I know if I put this here, snap it to the high. So I know the high was 16, we'll assume it was 12, 867.50. Put another bar right here, snap it to the low. So the low was 12,836. 67 minus 30 is 37. Like I said, I put a 35 to 40 point stop on this. Usually 30 points keeps it, but who wants to get tagged for an extra tick or two? So add 5 points. So the first thing you know is, so again, most of these coaching sessions are geared towards members in the room. And by the way, before I continue doing, two things that I forgot. If you're interested in joining the room, this is how you do it. I'm going to put a shameless promotion. There's a few spots open for those who want the algo. And this is how you reach me, TRADEnPERFORM@gmail.com. Very simple. So again, this is beautiful for swing traders and for intraday day traders. When we have the range intraday, these are great, right? And the idea here is obviously it's not going to give you every turn and every angle. Like for example, on this day, if you looked at how this traded, when you take a little bit closer look, so let me show you how this lays out. This is a star up by itself. This is a star up by itself. I know in both these cases, a 35-point stop kept me in the trade. And in both these cases, this stretch from like 12,862 to 12,981, these are both 100-point stretches pretty quick, right? So those stars are telling me that the momentum's really changed pretty hard within those bars. In addition, right? In addition, I'm looking. I'm a little bit tired, so let me go back through this. I'm not looking to take these long when they're up here, and you can see that I don't always get the extension to the downside. Like for example, this was a trend day up. I get a star down, right? And this trade pretty much went nowhere. I'm pretty sure you don't get the 30 points even to get a 1-to-1 risk reward, and you don't. Oh, I take it back. You got almost exactly 30 points. It went from 12,901 to 12,781. But if you try to push to the other side of the channel, you pretty much got swallowed up on that trade, which is why I suggest you get some of your risk off and see if the rest of the trade will work, right? And there's a couple of things that I've noticed about these in general. So again, this is kind of a deep dive on the bars, but one thing I don't want is if I get a bar down, I don't want a bar to close back into it like this, right? If I got this star down and I closed it, I wouldn't wait till it stopped at that bar. And what I'd end up with would be a loss of 12,901 to 12,918.75. But I would exit this trade if I got a star up into this bar and just wait till either the next apex trap or star down. Like you'll see right here, this is a TnP apex trap right here on this bar. And again, it obviously didn't go very far. It maybe went 30 points in my favor. But once this bar closes up like this, guys, I would exit the trade. So again, you can see I enter here. Again, this is another TnP apex trap. No star involved, but it is an apex trap. And here you can see you clearly get your 50 points that opens up. I'm trying to see if I miss. Obviously, you get paid over here. And again, on this apex trap over here, see this from here to here, TRADEnPERFORM apex trap. And you get this beautiful roll down, and it's just not in one place. I can go into early April, and I can find similar trades. So again, on this high time frame, this is really pretty important, right? So let's see what's off to the left. So there's no setup here to trade. There's no setup here to trade. But when we come up here, when you get a star all the way on the outside to the upside and they stuff it, it's very likely it's going to roll down. But on each of these bars, my stop is the bar that closes back into my trigger. I don't know how else to explain that. Let me see if I can find it. Looks like there would have been some difficulty here. So let's look over here. So let's say I was trading and I go, oh, this is star up right here. So the members in the room will get this because they'll see it. So if I took this star up, right? So number one, I obviously don't initially get stopped out. Let's erase the lines. So if I took this trade here, it goes 13,050 to 13,078, not quite 30 points. Close, but not 30 points, right? But when this bar closes down, again, you're going to notice usually if you can get this bar up, if it stops, it should stop right there at 13,036. So you end up with like a 15-point stop. Really, if you can get this bar up, your stop should go from like 40 to 20 would be the logical thing to do, right? Because once it closes back in, the trade is finished, right? So if you look same conceptually here, right? Once you close back into this, once you get one of these bars and it closes back in like this, the trade is over. So whatever scale you got off, exit the trade here. Again, apex trap. And then once you get the lift, after you get that second first bar up, your stop goes from 40 to 20 on the next bar up. So again, this was designed mostly for the members in the room. And if you'd like to come visit the room and learn more about the process, you're welcome to do so. Um, as you go through this process, like no matter where you look, so this is early April, right? So let's say, for example, you come in and you go, okay, I'm going to take this star up. Once I get this bar, stop goes to 20 points. And if it closes back in, I'm out on the trade, right? And then the same rule would apply here. Let's say you shorted this star. So this is going to be a full stop, right? It's going to be a 40-point stop. That was right in the last hour. But that's part of the risk of trading. The win rate, as everyone realizes, is very, very high on this time frame. So, like for example, if you came in earlier in this trade and you were working to grab the downside of the trade, your entry would be here, again, near the close, right? And this thing pushes down pretty significantly overnight. That'd be more for my swing traders. Just so I can find another set. Again, this trade, star down, I get one bar down. Now my stop goes to 20 points here. So my entry is going to be roughly 49. My stop's going to be 70. So again, 20 points about does it after you get the first bar down. And that's important. That's really important to know because it allows you to manage risk much more effectively, right? Again, so if you look here, right, it's going to be, your entry is going to be, okay. So your entry was 12,844. The best you could have done on that would have been 12,855. So almost 30 points. You might want to put it like at 27. It's getting that consistently. And now your stop goes right there. Here, I'll just to make sure I got it right. There you go. So it's 12,884 and the stop is 12,901. Less than 20 points. So once you get, so the way you measure that, guys, is by the time you get 20 points, your RR model has shifted, right? If you can get the down bar, your stop goes from 40 points to 20 points. So now if you scale 20 or 25, you're at a one-to-one RR for your trailers. Okay, so that becomes really important. And again, I'm going to show you again and again how that's true. So you'll see over here, this is an apex trap. Oh, no, I stand back. There's no trap. Star down, again, you're going to see the same situation here. And then the subsequent apex trap over here, this is on March 30th, obviously gives you more than your payout, right? You're a great risk reward. See if I can find this again. Again, the only time you're going to have a straight up complete stop is when you get a situation like this. And then, by the way, the purple bar off the top, it's rare, but if you get it, very, very good. Again, as soon as you get the next bar down, your stop goes to 20 points from your original entry. This is apex trap, same scenario. I'm going to try to find some. I'm focusing on the failure so you can see that adjustment on the stop makes a big difference. So, okay, so the only place you really get hurt is when the next bar completely reverses on you like it did here early in the morning. Again, that was an apex trap. It stops. This is the second apex trap, and you clearly make your money up on the next trade. But stops suck. They're part of the business. You just should anticipate them. But they pay. And here's a great example where, see how you get the bar up? Now your stop goes, if this is your original entry right here at 83, now you're going to go to 63 for the stop. And so I'm telling you, once you get this, just take your hands off the wheel on that thing and let it do its job, right? It's really, really, really important. And then it's the same thing here, right? If you get this bar up off the triangle through the eight period, the green line, which is the 8 period moving average, we can make an adjustment here, right? So your stop does the same thing. Once you get this bar over here, your stop is now this plus 20 points. So 80 becomes your stop down here, right? Which is basically this full bar. And let me touch base on that for just a second. And I want to try to, again, find a failure if I can. Okay, so triangle up. And again, your original stop is 40 points, right? But once you get this bar up, your stop now goes to 20, which changes the dynamics on here, right? Once you get this triangle up, it's coming through the 8 period, it's out on the edge. As soon as you get this bar, your stop's now your entry minus 20 points. And you obviously get, it shifts the RR. So your greatest risk is actually at entry, right? Your greatest risk is actually, and that's true for the long and the short. Like if you look at this, and actually I'm highly confident on the triangle down, the stop is 30 points, not 40. So that's 20. So your stop's going to be over here at 50, right? And I think that's still probably big. I'll work on bringing it down. But once you get this bar down here, your stop comes to the back of that. So now you're talking about a 15-point stop, and you obviously get your 1-to-1 RR. I'm trying to find where it fails. There's not many where it does. Here's a failure, okay? So on the triangle down, we can actually take it one step further. On the triangle down, if the next bar is up, right, you're just out. You end up with a 33 to 67. It's a 30-point stop, right? Same thing here. Here's where there would be a failure, hypothetically. You'd enter off the star in this case instead of the triangle down. But if you did enter off the triangle down, it's here. 84 would bring up 04. Oh, wait, 84, 14, excuse me. And you can see that just ends up being the next bar up. The next bar up stuffs it. It's a 30-point stop. And if you'll stay with the process over and over, right? So the idea is you got to keep your leverage a little bit lower, right? But if you'll stay with the process over and over again, this is not a full stop. That's a stop. But then you come back right over here and you more than get paid. So at any rate, that's my 2 cents. I wanted to cover that in great detail. And so now I'm going to go and discuss. There's a shift here, guys, that I want to point out to people. Should I do this in tonight's video? I will. Okay, so there's 2 things that are important in this chart in general that I want to show you. It doesn't matter where you look on it, okay? So if you get a bar that's normally, let's call this a recovered bar concept. So I'm going to do this on video so you can watch it over and over again. So here's the concept. You get a bar that prints and it's a high value bar. You would normally, just from experience of watching it, expect a significant 30, 40, 50-point move out of the trade, right? And then if that bar gets stopped out, right? And then you recover the same point. So the way it goes is entry, stop, recover. On this recovery of this bar, you're usually going to get a very big move. So this will be the second part since I did the first part relatively quickly. And again, it's been a little while since I made videos, so I'd love some feedback. So let's go talk about it. So let's say I'm looking long, right? So this is normally a bar, a divergent bar like that. I would expect a big push out of it, right? But you can clearly see it got stopped out. So the important part in this particular trade is noting where the point of control is. So let's put a line on the point of control. And what I want you to notice on this, I'm 80% sure I've got the correct stop on this, is that once you get so what you're looking for is the point of control back above, which occurs on this plus sign. And once you get that point of control above, now you'll notice the very next bar had some volatility, right? So So the first thing to notice is once it's recovered, it makes a significant push. So that's important to know. Let's pretend like you didn't have the star here, but you recover this bar right here. But for our purposes, we're going to enter the. So what we're measuring is against this stopped out location. This really is a brain teaser for a lot of people. Just play with it with me. So regained. So if I enter when the bar is regained, my first question is how much heat did it take? So it goes 12,582 down to 12,552. That's 30 points again, right? And what I really don't want is a close any further than this right here. So a bar that would close behind that would really cause me concern. And you can see they came all the way back to try and they failed, right? So again, you're looking at, I think, a 35 to 40 point stop here, right? But you can see the lift comes. And again, remember, once you get the triangle up on this trade, you don't want it to close back behind that triangle anyways, right? So your stop really goes, let's go through a couple examples. Let me think this through, right? So the important part of this is that this got stopped out. This got stopped out. This got regained. And it had a significant push to the upside. And it happens with regularity. I'm going to show you. See this bar right here? And you can use it two ways. You can use it both to enter a trade and you can use it to manage a trade. Like, for example, if I enter my long on this trade and I recover the point of control on this trade, I know that I probably have a very large extension coming in my favor. I'm going to focus on the longs first, and I'll go on some shorts. So let me see if I can find another example of where I would expect so this one never gets stopped out. I want the bar that's getting stopped out to be like, okay, so this is a good example. I would have expected this star to make this push, right? So if I draw a line on the point of control here, so this is already an apex trap, but as soon as I get this bar to get back above this point of control, I know that this is very likely. So it becomes a very powerful tool engaging where that trade is likely to go. And if you'll notice, this occurs like at 11:30, so you had tons of time for a fat run. That was actually almost a 200-point run there on that Tuesday back in March, right? And again, it works the same way on the short side of the trade. Like, for example, here I'll give you another example. So if I get this apex trapped, but I know because it was a star, as soon as I get the point of control back below, so I got to get it to get stopped out, which I do. The point of control is recovered here. So this is an apex trap anyways, but because I recovered that point of control, I get this beautiful roll, which is still about 70 points. It's a good payday, right? Again, now it's the opposite. If I get the divergent bar star up, as soon as I get the point of control behind it, it's probably going to fall away. Let's see if I can find another trade in here. The stars down, obviously stuffed at the edge, are very good, but that's not what we're looking. Here's another example. So this one looks like it was a little bit trickier, right? Star, apex trap, point of control above. This one really failed here, right? It just didn't go. That's okay, because what you're looking at, see, that star was really powerful, right? So if you look at this, okay, so star, stopped out, regained, failed again. But again, I'm even though this is an apex trap, that stopped out star is still the kingmaker. See, once they get the point of control above, look at the lift off to the right, which is what I'm fighting to get, right? I want that really big extension. And so this doesn't show up as much. Like this is a great example, like star up. As soon as I get behind the point of control here, that triangle down is just going to be monstrous. So that point of control, the big roll to the downside, that occurred on a Sunday evening in this particular case. This is a great example here. I know once I beat this right here, I am probably going much lower, right? So what this is about is after you get the initial trade, right? So the simplest trade is to look for the trade and perform apex trap because you know that they pay very, very nicely and repeatedly. You can see over and over, no matter where you trade, that's really the best trade to be able to capture over and over again. I don't know if this one grabbed it. Looks like that one missed, right? It didn't give an apex trap, but over and over you'll see that solution, right, present itself on those apex traps. But the other part that's I would say is very important is when you're looking on the edge and you're saying, oh, that trade should have worked. Like I'll even give you an extreme example. If you're looking for where it's going to release, this star is the last up star that got stopped. Notice once we regained the point of control of that star, just huge push. I wouldn't enter the trade up there. Hopefully I found a way to get in down here. But even if I didn't, I know that big push is likely to come, right? Let's see if I can find, that was just a straight up apex trap there on a Wednesday. Star up. This one would have been frustrating. So I would have been stopped on this trade. But this bar came down and then it launched. There's not much I can do. Hopefully I would have grabbed it on the triangle through. Star down. Again, that was a pretty straightforward trade. Again, this is going to be an important trade for me right here. When you get the, so if you draw the line here on this thing, let me erase the lines real quick. So again, this one got a little bit trickier as it went from Thursday into Friday. So you got to realize I'm not just looking for that trap, but what I am doing, excuse me, is I'm employing all my rules, right? So if I looked at this trade, this is just an everyday run-of-the-mill apex trap. I'm going to be long there. If I'm trading, I'm going to get my 30 points, and I'm going to get stopped for minus 20 right there. As I come in over here, I'm going to be long this bar. It's a regular TnP apex trap, right? But what I'm going to know about this trade, I'm going to get my initial risk off. But once I get this point of control back above this star, see, I know that star should have given me a big push. I now know that I have most likely one way or another a very large push coming in the direction of the trade, and I'm going to hunt that trade down. That was rough. I don't know what to do. This never apex trap, but look at all those stars. I don't know what's going on. That had to be news. I'm looking. See this? This should have lifted right here. See when they got the point of control behind it? And then they get the point of control back above it, and it pushes. And that thesis, that theme, is just a regular old everyday apex trap. But you'll even notice within the apex trap, the release is going to come over this star right here. This is apex trap, but once you get the point of control above, look at the lift. And that's the real value of the trade, is knowing where the extension is coming from. So anyways, my name is Simon. I'm with TRADEnPERFORM Coaching. Again, if you'd like to, you have a few spots open. If you'd like a trial to the room, send me an email, tradeandperform@gmail.com. The room is priced correctly, actually, for the information we give you. It's $279 a month for the software. So that's restricted for some people. It's a great deal for others. Doesn't bother me one way or the other what you think about the pricing or the room. But for those that it helps, I love to help people make money, and that's a good thing. Anyways, have a good night. I hope this helps. I'm going to hit the sack. I'll see everyone in the morning.